Oh, wait a minute. Kim's here. Oh, no, she's still not on. I thought she connected.
Oh, there's Verity.
Hey, Verity.
Kim, we really want to see that beach scene.
I so want to see the beach. I'd like to give a compliment out to the team. I see no pajamas this morning. That's always a wonderful start.
That's because I'm not showing a video.
Keep it to yourself, Darby.
Yeah, please.
That was intentional. I figure I'll be a watcher and not a seer.
Doug, you are wearing pants though, right?
Never, ever, never. My job is to present. It's Ben that I'm worried about. Ben's the one I'm worried about.
You mean whether I could find my pants?
Oh, you do have pants. Awesome.
I do, yeah.
So Tim, are you going to send this out to everybody, or should I take notes for the bulletin?
Let's stick with tradition if you don't mind taking notes. That would be great. Yeah.
Karen.
And you'll let me know how many people are on.
Yes, I can do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Hey, Karen, before you send out your notes, wait for Tim to give you the link to the recording.
Okay.
And Tim, I'd like to put the recording up in our YouTube space versus linking it just to the On24 one. So that's just a few minutes of transition in between, but then it keeps everything kind of tidied up.
Yep. And I'm hitting the record button and it says request permission from your host to record. So that's not good.
I thought you were the host.
I am the host. That's what the confusing part.
Wait a minute. It says it's recording, just so you know.
Oh, it does. Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, my screen says it's recording.
Yep.
All right, we're on the record then. Everybody be careful what you say. All right, well, let's see here if I can make this thing start. We'll go ahead and
Thank you for coordinating this, Tim. That was really, really quick thinking.
Oh, no problem. Doug was a big help, so.
Thank you, Doug.
Can everyone see the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And Wendy, or was it Jane that had the bell?
I have the bell.
You want to go ahead and ring it? There you go. All right. Welcome to the meeting, everyone. This is our first online Zoom meeting. So we're going to be, I think we're going to be doing more of these for the indefinite future. But keeping with tradition, I thought, well, of course, it's the best place to be at 6:45 a.m. on a Friday morning. I hope everyone agrees with that. A little easier this morning because we got to sleep in a little bit. We didn't have to get up quite as early, but it's better than a ride on the Crew Dragon. Anyone know what the Crew Dragon is?
Drawing a blank.
Isn't that the new capsule that can hold people?
It is, so Boeing and SpaceX were given a contract to develop a manned spacecraft to supply the International Space Station, and SpaceX did their first test, and if everything goes well, they will be launching the first 2 NASA astronauts in May, which will be a return to human spaceflight for NASA. I don't think we've flown since 2011. So with that in mind, and with all the concerns around social distancing, I took a ride, and I'm getting really distanced for the trip. And if you look closely, I am up on the space station today. You might see some people in the background working, so just
That is hilarious.
just ignore that as we move through the meeting today. Anyways, back to sharing my screen. Just a sec here. All right, so here we go. So welcome to Zoom. I hope everyone didn't have major issues getting in and were able to take advantage of the test meeting I set up yesterday. I do want to, with the help of Doug and some others, and there's another club that's using Zoom, come up with a kind of how-to, so you can use all the fun features like backgrounds and stuff like that, and then just some basic etiquette for conference calls when you do them like this, that for folks. you know, just kind of understand how the environment works and basic etiquette that makes the meetings run smoothly. But we'll talk a little bit more about future meetings down the road. But Verity, I'm hoping you still have an inspiration for us this morning. Are you there, Verity?
Yes, let me pull it up real quick. I've been saving this one for you guys. I found this, I was listening to the podcast This American Life, and which I love, and they had an episode on delights, and there was just a little couple minutes that I absolutely loved. So I'm gonna see if I can find it for you guys, and here it is, the Show of Delights. And they had this bit on this little boy who was finding delight in something most of us hate, which is commuting, but it was his first commute. So let me see here if I can get it for us. I hope that will work through my computer speaker here.
We can hear you fine.
He recently had an experience around a mundane thing most adults loathe.
Here we go.
Commuting. He was going to ride the school bus for the very first time.
Can you hear this?
Yes.
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 Robin has the story. Cole has been looking forward to this exact moment for years. More than kindergarten or his first day at school. Taking the bus to Cole is epic. So one morning this past September, with his new sneakers and Batman backpack on, Cole and I walked down our driveway.
I just can't wait. I'm a bus rider now.
What happened to old Cole?
Yeah, old Cole is dead now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, when we get old, really old, we start to die.
Well, these are very deep thoughts for the bus. Riding the bus to Cole was not about riding the bus. It meant he was gaining on his big sister Josie. She's 10, getting a hair closer to that mysterious, frustratingly out of reach thing that she has, autonomy.
Look, wait for the bus here.
So we're gonna walk down to the bus stop together.
Why?
Yes, that's where the bus is. Down on the corner. Did you know that?
No.
For a kid obsessed with this trip, he's surprisingly vague on some of the details.
The tree. What tree?
The tree right down there on the corner.
Yeah. That's our tree? Is that we have to wait there? Is that how Josie does it every day?
That's how she does it every single day. That's how she's been doing it for 3 years.
What?
I know, now it's different.
Yeah, and now it's not her turn.
We get to the corner and wait.
Hi.
Right where Ian pulls up, sees us and gets out of his car.
Guess what? I'm waiting for my bus.
Yeah, first time on the bus.
Thank you.
Cole beams. And pretty soon,
I think I hear a bus.
you do?
Oh, it was a fat car.
Cole wills the bus to come sooner, like everyone at every bus stop ever has done.
I think I heard not my bus. It sounds different. I think I heard it.
I don't think so yet, bub. We practice greeting the bus driver.
And then we say, hi, bus driver. I don't know what should say. How are you doing?
We do this a couple more times till Cole tells me to stop because it's boring.
Oh, it's boring.
And then more waiting. Cole's mood dips. He has doubts.
But why if there's not a spot for me in the bus?
Oh, there'll be a spot for you. They know you're coming. We told them you're coming, okay?
Okay. I was thinking about that bus. It's taking too long for me. We've been here for like over an hour.
It's been 10 minutes.
And it's taking too long. Taking crappy long.
Crappy long?
What?
Yes.
That's not something that you say.
Crappy.
We don't say that.
Fine.
I'm a little worried that maybe Cole has over-imagined the bus ride and it won't live up. That years of anticipation will only disappoint him in the end. And then, rounding the corner, while the bus driver...
That's my bus!
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Okay, let's go, let's go. Cole tears past me and up the bus steps like it was a thing. He's daring, I think to myself.
Bye, Mom.
Cole stood for a second longer, facing the rows of seats and kids, taking it all in, completely lit up.
I can't believe it. I'm on the bus. Yes. Yes, it's my first time.
He's fine. Better than fine.
Now this is what I'm talking about.
That was Nico with his producer, Robin Simeon.
So that just completely made me smile when I was heading somewhere in my car listening to that podcast. And now I'm trying to find some delight in staying home from work because our surgery center is closed for at least a couple months. So maybe I can find that delight in having a day off of work, even though it's like, when do I get to work again? But there you go. Back to you.
Thanks, Verity. And Tim, you're still on mute, just so you know.
Yeah, I just was frantically trying to unmute there. Thank you.
We can keep him muted. It's cool.
You say you want to keep muted? Wait a second.
I know, sorry. Just like I'm at the meeting.
Introducing Kate Noreen.
Oh, that was awesome, I think. Anyways, do we have any anniversaries, Lynette?
Well, in your case, Lynette, your sound's just not working.
Hold up a finger. I mean,
yeah. Go on, 0, moving forward, and no anniversaries.
All right.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
Just checking emails as you know, I shouldn't be doing, but we did have a note from Bruce Coleman who said he tried to get in and couldn't get in.
Okay.
Just FYI, I don't know if we can reach out to him. I don't have his number, otherwise I'd give him a call.
All right, I'll get with Bruce after the meeting.
Okay.
All right, and okay, well, let's move on. Youth exchange update. Is Tom on by chance, or Travis or Wendy? Can you give us an update? Or, I'm sorry, Wendy.
You know, I didn't even think about forwarding our meeting invite to Tom. How rude of me. But we just recently got some updates from district, and they basically are asking any of our students that are abroad, if they wanted to get home, they needed to be getting home quickly because commercial flight is probably going to be very limited. So I don't know if, last I heard, Levi was planning on staying. Is Chuck on the line with us?
I don't think I saw Chuck this morning.
Okay, I hadn't seen him earlier. So I don't know if there's been any change there. Things are happening so quickly, it's hard to kind of keep up. I know of no plans to send Tom home at this point. I'll try to reach out to the family later today. And then as far as Matthew is concerned, hopefully this will all be a distant memory to us when he's ready to head to Mexico.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Wendy. All right. Well, on to the fun stuff. I renamed the slide, Look What's Not Happening Now. Because we have, you know, with the coronavirus pandemic, obviously we've had to cancel a lot of stuff. So, but we had a board meeting on Friday or Wednesday night. It was a good meeting, and we talked about a lot of the upcoming events and what that means for the club. So, Fred, can you talk a little bit about the beach cleanup and Faith in Action?
Sure thing. So as far as the beach cleanup, I sent out an email to the team, to the group. I think it was Monday, and we made the decision based on Rotary International President, everything, to go ahead and cancel any participation just because of the quantity of people. Also, what I didn't advise the board on is because since we did that, we've also seen the entire function be canceled as well by the organizing committee, just as an FYI. The good news, in my screen, I can see Kim on the beach, which is neat.
Video. I'm not physically there, but if I can get it, I can show you golf course.
So that's pretty cool. But anyhow, so the beach cleanup is canceled. I'm sure that we will, reinstitute that once we get things back to normal. I would say on one issue, Tim, we're probably going to come up short on our activities that we had on our club goals. Unfortunately, I would think maybe by 1 or 2. I think we were running a little over. So we had a little buffer, but something to think about there. And I'm sure that will be, everybody will understand that, but that has been canceled. I think the other thing is that a lot of you involved around the Faith of Action, the partnership that we have driving seniors who don't have the ability to drive anymore to go get their groceries. And it's been a pretty rewarding thing for everybody. And unfortunately, when everything kind of blew up last weekend, we had a call on Monday, or I called them on Monday morning, and they had been already meeting this over the weekend. And Faith in Action decided to suspend everything, all volunteers. And I've later found out the primary driver that is because of liability issues. And so, I had a couple of preliminary discussions with them, and then I actually sat down in more detail. I sent them an email after our board meeting, and I sent a note to Wendy and Ben, because they were on the board and they participated in this, just to try to get some feedback as well. And I know.
Good morning, Jessica. They put in a level 4 travel advisory, as you said, which means do not.
Oh, there we go. The main questions that I tried to ask them yesterday was, do they need help? Let me back up. Really concerned just overall that, that we have this need that's still going unfulfilled. And my heart just breaks for these folks, that not only do you have an issue with, getting necessary resources for their well-being, but also from a standpoint of making sure that these folks don't have, don't become isolated. And one of the worst things in this tragedy is this thing that we're going through is we don't want people in vulnerable groups to be isolated. So, I sent a note to them yesterday and asked them 3 specific questions. Do you need help with coordinating efforts to call in shut-ins? Just like we'll touch base with them, see what we can do to reach out. Number 2, have they facilitated anything with seniors who don't have close relatives to continue with some kind of online shopping, and what we do there? And then 3 is, would they be willing to share their senior database that they have, so and then we can maybe marry it against our Sherwood list to try to find Sherwood residents who might need particular services that we might want to put a special effort towards, especially as maybe some of the meal programs that are going out from the senior center. So long story short, we've got some discussions in play around that. Those of you who are current volunteers, let me know. They're supposed to get back to me. I had a call with them after I sent them some of these questions, a great call. And they're supposed to get back to me early next week as they're kind of sorting some of these things out. I guess I would like to ask the group in a couple of things. You can let me know via email. Is for the 11 or 12 people that are part of the shopping team, would you be interested in facilitating call or making calls to some people just to touch base? And there'll be some kind of little training that we go through where we want to make sure they don't have any needs that aren't being addressed, or they're not unduly frightened, and that we can bring to Providence's attention. right now she's indicating if we do that, which she loves that idea and that help, is that will probably be only available to our shopping team as it exists because you all have gone through training and you've all gone through a background check. And so my gut tells me, at least initially, it'll be limited to those. But if you are not on the shopping team and you would like to send me a note, and I'll keep your name in a reservoir, if you will, just to let them know. And then the other thing that we're really trying to think about is, how do we help them with the shopping program to deliver some of these groceries since they shut it down? And she was very candid with me yesterday, Jill was, in the fact that I think kind of under the table, they still have delivered some groceries themselves. And so they've identified a handful of people, and they don't want us to do that because they view that even door delivery is still an in contact. So what they're trying to do is just take care of some immediate needs. So I brought it to the table, like maybe we can try to think outside the box. Maybe we can help with the ordering portion of it. I have a couple of people do kind of some technology thing, talk to the people, create a list, put the online order in, and then somebody gets it from the grocery store and brings it to them if they want to personally deliver it. So we're trying to kind of think outside the box in terms of how we could change the process flow in order to give them a hand and not trying to think they're trying to do everything. So that's kind of where it stands. More to come next week if we'll be able to pull some of these things off. I can't guarantee it, but my hope is we can, because we want to make sure that all our citizens who are vulnerable, don't have that isolation and they get the resources necessary. Does that help? Any questions?
I'm hoping that they're able to do delivery, like the online delivery. That would be really great.
And as part of that, because hey, we're all in this together, and I told the board, I find myself in the middle of the spectrum, right? I'm not totally without knowledge, but I'm not a Doug in terms of. And I actually had I did my first delivery yesterday with Fred Meyer, who's got kind of I do but most of my shopping there. Long story short, I had set it up prior to the board meeting just to try it out. It's very easy to do online shopping, and then yesterday it was, not that I'm endorsing them, but I'm going to tell you they made it so great. They communicated me with it while they were in the store, clarifying a couple of questions, asked if I really needed 3 gallons of milk. I said yes. I got 2 boys home from college. I mean, it was neat. So if we could help be that facilitator, those people that don't have those technologies available to them, and it might be a little clunky in terms of process flow. I just want to make sure that we offer our services available to them.
That's awesome, Fred.
Thank you so much, Fred. And so if I want to make sure we have time for our presenter here. So if anyone has any ideas for Fred or ways we can work that, please get a hold of him. And just as kind of a side note, if for those of you that don't know, the senior center is closed, but they are doing meal deliveries for seniors in need during this time period. So they have volunteers, and the city is making, I think Jamie, I don't know if you've heard any numbers from Joe, but last I heard, I think we're up to 20 meals a day that they're delivering right now in the Sherwood.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I also add that Hope Diner is canceled until the foreseeable future?
Okay, good to know. Thank you. All right, and so Wendy, you want to talk about Peace Poll and some of the other items that we talked about in the board meeting?
Yeah.
Wendy, you're still on mute. Got to watch that little button of yours there.
It did come off, but it must have come back on. There it is. So the Peace Poll has been delivered to the church along with the stand and the dedication plate. They'll let us know in some future time about a dedication. And then it's my understanding that we're still planning on canceling the meeting of the 6th unless Jane and Karen decide that we're going to do a Zoom meeting.
Right.
They would have to speak to that.
Yes, we're planning to cancel, but we'll talk about it further as it gets closer.
And then no art walk.
Yes, and then the art walk, of course, is canceled as well. And for any of you that want to, so there is a free tier of Zoom. We went ahead and got a $19 a month pro version because we need that for the longer meetings and stuff like that. But for any of you, if you want to hold a short meeting with club members in Zoom, it's pretty easy to sign up, but you can sign up and run your own meetings if you want to do that. And I'm more than happy to help anyone that wants to use that tool. So let's see. So Doug, you want to talk about the tree sale?
I don't necessarily want to, but I appreciate that I shall. We went through this a little bit at our board meeting, and we just believe the right answer is to go ahead and cancel our tree sale for this year. So as a club, we'll be kind of shifting our thinking into other ways to compensate for that loss of funds. The nice thing is we already are doing that, and Chuck and many other folks are kind of on that committee to come up with alternate fundraisers anyway. So with any luck, we'll have an opportunity to do something later in the year, and we'll just see how that rolls. But as of now, the website's updated, the tree sale's canceled, and I will be calling people who've actually contacted me and just give them a little personal, update on the tree sale.
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, it's a real bummer that we have to do that, but as you pointed out in the board meeting, this is not something we can postpone, right? The trees, the bare root trees are just available at only a certain window during the year. So,
and just for the record, I see Doug down there in the Target store with the empty shelves, just connecting the dots for everybody.
And
yeah.
Doug, do you want anything yet on social media regarding the cancellation, or?
I wanted to put just a little thought into that and throw it out over the weekend. So I just right now have canceled, but I wanted to put a little message there, or something to tease them to hopefully keep looking at us.
Okay, well, let us know what we need to do as far as, what messaging you want us to share, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, fair enough. So what I will wind up doing is I will wind up posting it on the board. And when you do see that hit up, like say your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed or whatever, go ahead and share it forward on yours if you don't mind. That makes for a nice communication method. Thanks, Wendy.
Awesome. Thank you, Chuck. Doug, did you want to talk about any of the future potential fundraisers, or you want to save that for the next reason? By the way, there's an inside joke here. They've been calling each other Doug and Chuck and Doug.
That's really.
I don't think it's not an inside joke if you tell everybody about it. that then becomes an outside joke.
Wasn't a very good joke to start with.
No. So there has been a fundraising committee in place for about 5 months now that has held one meeting and done some groundwork for different ideas for fundraisers that we might be able to implement. And we will probably have another fundraising Zoom meeting in the near future to go over some of those ideas and what may or may not work within the next 12-month period of time to replace tree sale.
Thank you, Doug. So, and then just a couple other items. I think everyone knows this. The district training event, of course, is canceled. They're working on some online stuff. And then the district conference, I just got that email yesterday, that's been canceled as well. So, we just got to get through this pandemic and resurrect some of these things. For the district conference, they're talking about later in the year holding like a reunion event where they can hand out all the awards and do some of the fun stuff and get together, but there'll be more to come on that. Anything else? I do want to move along here, but anything else that I missed that people want to bring up in terms of what's not happening or maybe happening? All right, moving on. Just real quickly, I mentioned the War Memorial last week and the effort that the Elks and the Legion is doing. We got some preliminary news back that the committee that awards grants at the state level is recommending that Sherwood get their grant for that War Memorial upgrade. So that's pretty exciting news. There'll be more to come on that. And then just some odds and ends. We're running out of time here, so we won't do brags today, but we're going to figure out a way to do brags in the meeting. But one of the things we decided to do is the money that we used to spend on breakfast will go to the brag fund. I'm talking to Panera. You know, we'd like to give them a little money. Hopefully that could help them keep people employed over there. Maybe a portion of that. They haven't returned my call so far, so more to come on that. But most of that money will go into the brag fund. We're also considering adding a donate button to the club website. Is another way to encourage people to donate to our foundation. More to come on that. I got a Zoom meeting etiquette guide in the works. I mentioned that earlier. You'll just be seeing that come out in a little bit. I'm reaching out. There's a couple other clubs that are using Zoom, so I wanted to see what they put together for that. And then last but not least on this subject, for any of you, if you had ideas about how we can make this format, you know, fun and engaging and different things we can do, you know, reach out to me, throw your ideas my way, call me, email me. I'm really interested in hearing that because I want to keep these meetings fun and engaging. You know, there was a lot of things that's hard to do in these meetings, like we can't do the handshake, we can't do the Pledge of Allegiance and those types of things, but I'm hoping we can figure out some other things that we can do to make the meetings interesting. Any questions on any of that before we move on to our speaker today? All right. So John, do you want to introduce our speaker? John, you're on mute. I unmuted you, John.
Okay, thank you. Because I didn't mute myself. Okay, so this morning we have Adrienne Enriquez, and I hope that she's signed in and is on the line. But she was invited to speak to our club about a nonprofit that she's co-founded that helps newly arrived refugees. And so I understand that, like everything right now with the virus, things are kind of on hold and in flux, but I'm sure that there's a lot to talk about as to what they have been accomplishing and what they hope to accomplish as soon as we get this COVID-19 behind us. So with that, Adrienne, we're excited about what you have to say.
Great, thank you. And I'm gonna share, hi, it's nice to see everybody. I'm gonna share my screen because I have some pictures to show you of some things that we've been up to. But again, I'm Adrienne, and John mentioned that I co-founded this organization, and that's true. It was with my sister-in-law, Allison. Our connection to you all is that Verity is my cousin. So I
Awesome.
am 100% certain that she's the reason I'm here talking to you today. And Verity has been actively engaged with what we're doing. So thanks, Verity, for that as well. So again, Butterfly Boxes, we were founded about 3.5 years ago in an effort to help the community welcome refugees and asylum seekers into Oregon specifically. And so we've been doing that in a few ways. We originally started with one really clear mission, and as things were changing rapidly with the way that, or one really clear project, very clear mission that we're all about welcoming folks to our community here in Oregon. And as things have changed over the last 3 years with how refugee resettlement works, we've added a few things. And so I'm going to talk to you about what we originally intended and where we have gone from there. And as John mentioned, currently refugee resettlement is on a complete hiatus nationwide because of coronavirus. And we aren't doing anything right now either, but we will get back up and running. So just for a little bit of context and history, Oregon specifically has been welcoming refugees in a really concerted way for over 70 years. And so this is not a new thing to have people coming into our communities from other places seeking refuge. When we started this organization, Oregon was welcoming about between 13 and 1,500 refugees every year from countries all around the world. Those numbers have dropped precipitously in the last 3.5 years, in part due to the travel bans, and in part due to the president making some decisions to decrease the number of refugees allowed into the country from hundreds of thousands to less than 45,000 per year. So, so we've seen some numbers change, and that has been true in Oregon, obviously, as well. The share of folks arriving here has dropped from about 1,500 3 years ago to closer to a few hundred a year now. So just that's the context of the world that we're living in and why we've made a few changes. So originally when we started, there was, folks were greeting people at the airport, so these are just some photos of some of that. People from the community have welcomed folks at the Portland International Airport. All refugees who are coming, not asylum seekers, but refugees coming through the refugee resettlement program, all of them come through the Portland International Airport because they're all flying in. And so those who will settle in Oregon arrive at the airport, and there have been lots of welcome parties. And so I just wanted to show you some pictures of what this has looked like in the last few years. With folks arriving. So there's kids, there's adults, there's all kinds of folks coming in. And when they come, oftentimes they're not bringing very much with them. And that's where our organization sort of started thinking about what we could do. These 2 bags are from a family of 9 people who arrived about 3 years ago. And this is the entirety of the luggage that they brought with them. So a family of 9 brought 2 large suitcases, but this was it. This was all of their possessions that they arrived in the country with. And so we know that that means they're missing some things. We know that it means that they have their most important possessions, but maybe not some of the most basic things that they need for their first few days in the country or in a new home. And so what I'd love for you to do is think about just like take a few seconds to think about if you were forced to get up and leave your home right now, or if you'd been living in a refugee camp for 10 to 15 years, as many of these folks have been, what are the things that you would bring with you if you had one bag to pack? And so I'm just going to give you a few seconds to, or yeah, a little bit of time to think about what would you put in that bag if you could only bring one bag? And if folks want to share some of those things, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Seems like it'd be the necessities like clothes and those types of items.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have thoughts of what you personally maybe would put in your bag?
There must be some personal items in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things I can never replace. You know, things that can't be bought or purchased or built.
Yeah, I would think keepsakes, a couple keepsakes like pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we know, I mean, I think it was Tim, you mentioned clothes, and that certainly is true. People will usually bring 1 or 2 outfits for family members. And then they're bringing the other things that, just as you said, things that can't be replaced, keepsakes, photos, those sorts of things. And so you can imagine there's a lot of stuff missing, things that maybe they haven't had the chance or ability or room to bring with them. And so that's what Butterfly Boxes originally decided we were going to do. We were going to help our community welcome folks by providing an airport arrival bag. And those bags have very specific items depending on the age that the individual is, but every person who gets off the plane receives a bag from Butterfly Boxes filled with items that we think folks might need in their first 2 to 3 days in a new home. And we developed that list in concert with one of our partners, Catholic Charities, who does quite a bit of the resettlement of refugees in the state. And so we worked with them to develop a list of what those items would be. But I want to show you sort of an example of what one of those is. So we have 4 different levels of bags. We have bags specifically for babies, for kids, for teens and adults. And this is an example of what goes into a kid bag. And so what you see there are some toiletries. So sort of imagine when you stay the night in a hotel, what are the toiletries that are there available for you? We want to make sure that those are in every bag. So shampoo and conditioner and lotion and soap, but also a toothbrush and toothpaste. So sort of those really standard toiletries. A towel set, so that every person in the family has a towel set. For kids, we also provide a couple pairs of underwear, a couple pair of socks. A water bottle goes into every person's bag for a couple of reasons. One, we want to welcome them to Oregon in and thinking about our sustainability culture, but also as a signal that water is safe to drink here, so that they don't need to spend their precious few funds on buying bottled water. They can drink water here using a water bottle. For kids and babies and even teens, we also provide some activities for folks to do, because one of the first things that families are doing is spending a lot of time sitting in spaces and in waiting rooms to access their services. And so coloring books or some kind of activity, a comfort item, and always a welcome note. And so we've asked members from the community provide us with welcome notes written in really simple language to say, welcome, we're so glad that you're here in our state. One of the things that I want to say is that we've spent very little of our own money on these welcome bags. We have, in the last 3.5 years, given out probably close to 2,000 bags at this point, and every item has come from donations from members of from the community. So we've had people do donation drives, particularly around toiletries. We've had people give us massive numbers of backpacks like Verity, but we also have a few Amazon wish lists, and people just send us things over using those wish lists. And so everything that we've given has come from the community. And for us, that's been the most really heartening part of this, is that anytime we put out a call and say, oh, we really don't have towels, we will get just massive amounts of towels from the community. So this is something we feel like really is a welcome that's coming from Oregonians to our newest neighbors. We pack all of those bags using volunteers. And so it used to be that once a month we were having people come and help actually pack those bags and put them together so that they could then be given to people when we arrive at the airport. So again, totally a community effort around this. And it has to be that way because I have a full-time job and my sister-in-law has full-time children and a part-time job. And so we can't do all of this on our own. So we've relied on people from the community to help with things like packing bags as well. But as I mentioned, fewer people have been, I wanted to show also, kids have gotten involved. So we've had lots of, this is a scout troop in East Portland that put together, I think, 50 bags at one point. So lots of groups with kids have gotten involved, which has been a whole lot of fun to see kids helping other kids. Earlier this fall, I think in November, we partnered with the Migrant Education Program to provide 325 bags for asylum seekers coming from Guatemala. And we had a group of students from the Migrant Education Program do a huge volunteer day to put all 300 of those bags together. So again, huge community effort and sort of spanning the age range, children to adults, helping out with this. And we're really proud of both of those things. So it's a big, just everybody in the community helping out. because of the drop in the number of folks arriving, we started thinking about what are some other ways that we can continue to welcome the people who are already here, and to help them know that they in fact are still welcome, regardless of what the politics around them might make them feel. And so we've done a few extra things. One of those is each winter we've done what we call our warm winter welcome drive, where we have collected blankets and coats for folks, and so that we can get those out to people, in particular those who have arrived in the last year and haven't yet experienced a winter. Many of the refugees arriving in Oregon come from places where they've never experienced winter or cold, and they certainly don't have coats, and very few have blankets. And so we've done a drive for that. And this happens to be a group of handmade blankets. Again, community effort. Certainly people buy blankets and coats for us, but we've also partnered with quilt guilds and knitting guilds to have handmade items included. And so, so we do a warm winter welcome, usually between Thanksgiving and Christmas time is when that's happening. We also have been working with some folks, some immigration lawyers who have for the last 10 years actually been putting on a free legal clinic that they call Refugee Adjustment Day. And this is about adjusting their legal status from refugee to permanent resident. And so we have been working with them. They'd always been given donations, and they were just handing those donations out to people, so of household items or clothing items or that sort of thing. And they were handing them out to people, but didn't really have a really specific way to do that. And they were serving about 500 people at each of these refugee adjustment days each year. And we went and volunteered at one and saw that the donation thing was happening a little bit in a haphazard way, because that was not their intention. They just had a bunch of donations and didn't really have a process for giving those out. And so we started, we just stepped in and said, we'll organize this. And now at every Refugee Adjustment Day, we have a Butterfly Boxes. We call it a store, but it's basically a place where folks can come in and take whatever has been donated, whatever they need, and they can take those things out with them. And so it's blankets and some clothing items and toiletries and all kinds of things. Toilet paper was always a big hit, so maybe we shouldn't be surprised that that's that's a big hit around the country. I mean, around the country now. But those, so just folks could come in while they were doing that free legal work, and also shop in the store and take the items that that they need, so that they're walking away with things that made the most sense for them. And so we do that as well each year. And for that, we've had some knitters and crocheters make some wonderful handmade toys, so that children can pick out the toy that they want that's been made especially for them. And so again, community members donating items and time in order to welcome folks has been, and this is one other way that that's been happening. And aren't these really cute? We also had some thoughts around, so this is all stuff that's sort of happening behind the scenes, where we're helping people to provide for folks, but we weren't really doing anything about helping people make connections. We let people know when refugees were arriving from the airport, and so people could come and help to welcome them there, but there weren't other connection points, which frankly wasn't that was our intention, was just to do some of this behind the scenes, really make sure that people have the things that they need and provide a way for the community to assist with that. But we also, as folks were starting to feel less and less welcome, we wanted to provide a little bit more in terms of touch points. And so with some of our partners, we started offering community potlucks. And again, those are completely on hold right now. We were doing them monthly and sort of moved into maybe an every other month sort of option, but where we invite our newest neighbors to come together with our more established community members and to share a meal together. And I'll tell you, in many cases, these are the best meals I've had any month that we've hosted a potluck, because people are bringing food from their cultures just the food that they would normally be eating. And so we have this really wide array of international flavors and people sitting down to just have a conversation. We sort of use the tagline, share a meal, share a story, and folks are coming together to do that. And so here's another photo of that happening with people just sort of coming together and sharing a meal and learning a little bit about each other and being able to offer a welcome and feeling welcomed by that. Don't know when the next one will be because everything's on hold, but we have been doing those as well over time. And sometimes we've done them outdoors. We partnered with an organization a couple of years ago for a summer picnic, and I'm sharing this in part to remind myself. So for example, at that particular one, we partnered with an organization that wanted to provide bicycles for children, refugee children in particular. So we held a big outdoor picnic. We had put out a call to say, if you've got bikes and helmets and locks, let us know. And we were able to work with the community to give 100 kids bikes that summer and do that during this large outdoor picnic. And so so that's just, we've sort of been able to do some of those more I don't know, just we say yes a lot. My sister-in-law doesn't love that I'm frequently saying yes, but we say yes a lot and then figure out how to make that work for us. And I love this particular picture because this is a sign that a banner that we put up at every event that we host. So this says welcome in the most popular languages of refugees that were arriving at the time that we printed this banner. And when we have it up and there are a lot of kids around, one of the most wonderful things I think for me is that a lot of kids will walk up to that and point out which is the language that they recognize, and then share that with their friends. And I think it's a reminder for me every time we see it happen that they aren't seeing their language out in public very often. And so just sort of a reminder that it's important for us to be always cognizant of that sort of how do we welcome people and what are those markers to say, really, you're welcome here. And one of them is to offer something in a home language. So yeah, so this is just another celebratory picture from an airport arrival. So we haven't seen these scenes too much lately, but we're hoping that they'll come back soon. And we are on social media on Instagram and Facebook, and then we also have a website that you can see down at the bottom. And if you go to our website, if you're interested in learning more, and particularly about what you can do when we get back on board, if you go to our website, there's a way to join our mailing list, and as soon as we know more, we'll send out a list. If you go to our website, the links are still active to find places to donate, but I guess I would say we don't actually have anywhere to store those other than we have a small storage space, but we can't get into it. The building that we're in is closed through coronavirus, so anything that's coming to us would just sort of sit in our homes for a while. So we're not actually actively looking for donations at this point because of storage concerns. But that's what I have. I hope I didn't go over time, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that folks have.
Any questions out there?
I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, where do you find your biggest challenge? Is it for items for the kids or
Honestly,
the adults or the house?
So it's interesting. I would say that there are a couple of really glaring things that happen, which I have lots of thoughts about. What does this mean in our society? But I don't have any answers. Towels are always an issue. And so we put a towel set, and that includes a bath towel, hand towel, and washcloth. And I feel like anytime we're putting out a call for what we need, towels. Water bottles also. My guess is on those, some of that is because those are the more expensive items that we're asking for. But those seem to be sort of the big, consistently, we're always out of those items. And then the other challenge that we notice when we do the warm winter welcome drive and we're asking for coats, and also when we are putting together backpacks and we sort of come up with, you know, the way that we do the backpacks is we just like start making them and figure out what we've got at the end of it. And we are always low on backpacks for boys, particularly boys between the ages of 12 and 18. Yeah. And we rarely get donations for coats for boys between the ages of 12 and 18. So lots of stuff for little kids and lots of stuff for girls at all age levels. But boys are pretty rough. And adults, we don't have so much of an issue with. And I think part of that is because for adult bags, we really are doing, adult bags look the same. Except that for women, we provide sanitary napkins, but otherwise, you know, but the boys and the girls at the kid levels look a little different, and so it becomes glaringly obvious that boys is the issue. So,
thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Adrienne. We really appreciate you coming in today. And,
sure.
Or actually not coming in, but actually joining our call.
Yeah, it was good.
Excellent. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
just going to unshare my screen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, is someone speaking out there have a question or a comment? No? Okay. Well, this was awesome, guys. Thank you for joining the meeting. Any comments on the format or how the meeting went this morning, since this is our first try at this?
My comments: get rid of the backdrop. You're depressing me. That's my comment. Palm trees, warm air. Oh my goodness.
You don't like my location?
Not unless you take us all with you. I'll get rid of social distancing if you'll take me.
How about
That's pretty awesome.
How about just my green screen? How's that?
Okay. You're alone. Okay, you're on your own now, buddy.
So is anybody else kind of experiencing in and out of the presentations? Because I was.
Yes, I was.
Very
So
clear.
it could be my equipment, but
When you say in and out, was it just the audio, or were you dropping off and having?
oh no, I get this Zoom screen that comes up and says, "Do I want to sign in?" and takes over the screen, and
okay.
And then when I hit my unmute, it shows unmute, but it's not. And then when I look again, it's muted. So there's a delay, definitely a delay.
Are you Wendy? Are you on what kind of device are you on?
I was on a notebook.
A notebook. Okay.
Yeah. So
all right.
I might try it on my phone the next time and see if it's better.
Okay.
It's Karen. I just wanted to say we're going to need some inspirers for the month of April. So I will send out an email with a little calendar and just see, because we don't really need greeters or tear down people. So if everybody can kind of keep that in mind, that would be great.
Awesome. All right. I think just a sec here. Let me get. Can everybody see our slide now?
Fred, do you want us to sing happy birthday to you?
No, y'all did that on Wednesday night. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's nice.
All right. Okay. Well, great. So if you have any ideas for spicing up our online meeting format, give me a call.
Did you want to do the 4-way test?
Yes, but just real quick. So for next week, yeah, this should be entertaining trying to do the 4-way test, but we'll give it a shot. For next week, I'll be leading. Jeff you have the tough job of standing at the door and greeting everybody. And Wendy, you'll be inspiring next week. So, and you have, if you want to, you can come over to my house and help clean up the yard.
Woo!
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. So let's give this a
Oh wait, can I jump in real quick?
yes.
We had talked at the board meeting about doing brags and such, and I looked just briefly online, and it looked like some of the e-Rotary clubs are using PayPal as a way of collecting money. I think that includes dues and everything, but it sounded like that was suggested because of the record keeping that they do and the transaction report that you can print off. So it's going to throw that out there. I don't know how many people have PayPal, but I can set one up for the club if that's something we want to do.
Okay. Yeah, Verity, let's you and I get together on that, and because I have some ideas too. PayPal's a great one, but it'd be nice to find a way we can continue to do the brags as we move forward. So awesome. Anything else for the good of the order?
Have a great day, everyone.
All right. So,
Well
Jane,
done, El Presidente.
oh, thank you. Jane, are you ready with the bell?
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's try this. Are you guys ready? This is going to be entertaining with all the delays. All right. 4-way test of the
things we think,
Say or do.
First, is
it the truth?
Second,
Is it fair to all concerned? Third, builds goodwill and better friendships. Fourth,
will be beneficial to all concerned.
Sure. Yay.
I think I'll do it again, and I'll leave mine on mute.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and I'll be sending out invites for next week, and we'll see you on the 27th.
Thanks,
All
Tim.
right.
Nice job.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tim.
Good job.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.